Hello everybody, myself Jyoti Mahekar and this is the third lecture of alpha decay from nuclear physics. So today we are going to talk about absorption of alpha particles. Here basically we study alpha particle absorption because from that data we can know about how much energy the alpha particle carries, or we can say how much velocity is there of the alpha particles. So these alpha particles are easily absorbed uh, by a sheet of paper, by an aluminium foil which is of the order of 0.004 centimeter thick, or by several centimeters of air. So absorption is basically very important to study because the energies of various charged particles can be determined if we measure the absorption, their absorption by the matter, or you can say absorber. Now, what is a range of alpha particles? If the particles emitted by a source in air are counted by counting the number of scintillations on a zinc sulfide screen, it is found that their number stays practically constant up to a certain distance r from the source and then drops rapidly to zero. This distance r is called the range of the particles and it is related to initial energy of the particles. If I tell you the same definition in a more simpler words, it is like suppose you have a alpha particle with certain amount of energy. They, when they pass through the absorber material, they can penetrate up to a certain distance depending upon how much energy they possess. That is the range of alpha particles. An alpha particle, if it is passing through the absorber material, how much distance it can cover inside the absorber material, that is called as range of alpha particles. Naturally, if the alpha particle it is having more energy, it can penetrate more distance in the absorber material. So that is how range depends upon the initial energy carried by alpha particles. Now, there is a method to determine range of alpha particles. So here we can see this is the ionization chamber where we can detect this alpha particles, and there is a movable wooden block on which the source of radioactive source of alpha particle it is placed, so that we can change the distance between the source and the detector. So the apparatus consists of a source placed on a movable block whose distance from the detector, that is a thin screen walled ionization chamber, can be varied. A narrow beam of alpha particle is emitted from the source, emerges through a collimating slit, and passes through a known thickness of air and reaches the detector. The detector is 1 to 2 mm deep. Now, how does it work? When the alpha particle pass through the ionization chamber, ions are formed in pulses in the chamber, because we know that alpha particles they have a ionization, they cause ionization whenever they pass through the medium. So here ions are produced, and these ions are produced in the form of pulses in the ionization chamber. The voltage pulses induced on the chamber electrode are then amplified electronically and counted, and the counting rate is determined as a function of distance between the source and the detector. Now let us understand again what is range. The distance through which an alpha particle travels in a specified material before stopping to ionize, it is called as its range in that material. So let us understand. I have an alpha particle, it is passing through the material or medium, and it is ionizing that particular medium. So if it is having energy, then it will ionize the medium. When it's the energy of the alpha particle will become zero, it will stop ionizing. So that is the maximum distance which it has covered in that particular media also. So you can define it in a different way, but finally the range means the same thing. So you can define range as the maximum distance which it can cover into the absorber material. That is also a range, or you can define it as the distance through which an alpha particle travels in a specified material before stopping to ionize that medium. That is also called as range in that medium. So the range is thus a sharply defined ionization path length, uh, and it is expressed in centimeter in air at 76 centimeter of mercury pressure and 15 degrees Celsius. The range is highest in gases, less in liquids, and the least in solids, because we know that solids are compactly packed. So to penetrate solids, they alpha particles must have more energy, so they will not be able to penetrate more into the solids. In liquids, the atoms are more loosely packed as compared to the solids, so these alpha particles can penetrate more deeper into that material. So range will be more, and in gases we know that particles are far apart, so that is how penetration will be more, so that is how we can say range is more. Now, on which factors the range depends on? So we know that the alpha particle, it has a certain amount of initial energy, and if it has more initial energy, it will penetrate more. So naturally, the first parameter is range depends upon the initial energy of alpha particles. Second, the ionization potential of the gas. Every gas has its own ionization potential. That means the you have to supply minimum amount of energy to ionize that particular gas. So that is also the second thing. And the third is the chances of collision between alpha particle and the gas particles, that is on the nature and the temperature and pressure of the gas. With increase of pressure, the range decreases. It increases if the temperature of the gas is increased. So in other words, we can say range is directly proportional to temperature and inversely proportional to pressure. Now let us understand Geiger rule or Geiger law. So here in this particular alpha decay topic, we are going to study two rules. Basically, one is Geiger rule or Geiger law, and second is Geiger-Nuttall law. Both these laws are different. Mostly students get confused between the two. So first we are going to study Geiger rule. So the range of alpha particle depends on their initial velocity. Earlier we have said that it depends upon the initial energy. E, it is equals to half mv square. So when I am saying it depends upon energy, that means I want to say that it depends upon the initial velocity. So the range of alpha particle depends on their initial velocity. For monoenergetic alpha particle of velocity v, the range in standard air is proportional to velocity, cube of velocity. So R is proportional to V cube, or I can write R equals to AV cube, where A is proportionality constant. This relationship R equals to AV cube, it is called as Geiger rule, or it is called as Geiger law, and is valid only in limited velocity range. So we have a mean range and extrapolated range. So you can see this B point, it represents the mean range, and there is one extrapolated line over here CD, that is the extrapolated range. So now let us understand what is mean range and extrapolated range. So for monoenergetic beam of alpha particles, the intensity falls abruptly to zero at a definite distance d from the source. This d value gives the range R of the beam. The distance from the source at which the intensity is half the initial intensity, that is called as mean range R. That implies that 50% of alpha particles have range greater than R, and 50% have range less than R. If the linear portion ABC of the graph is extrapolated to zero intensity, then what we get, it is called as the extrapolated range, and it is slightly higher than the R. Now, what is specific ionization? Due to ionization, there are large number of ion pairs generated along the path of alpha particles in a gas. Their number in unit length of the path at any point is proportional to energy loss in the region. So because whenever alpha particle it is producing an ion pair, it is losing some amount of its energy. So naturally, number of ion pairs which are produced, it will be proportional to energy lost in that region. So the number of ion pairs formed per unit path length at any point in the path of the alpha particle is called as specific ionization, and is symbolized by the letter I. So thus the ionization produced by an alpha particle at any point in its track is inversely proportional to velocity at that point. Okay. So now let us understand a very important term, that is straggling. The alpha particles of same initial energy have more or less the same range in matter. However, a small spread in the values of the ranges about a mean value is observed. This phenomenon is called as straggling of the range. And when we plot a number of ions per centimeter along the path of alpha particle versus the range of alpha particle, we get a curve which is called as Bragg curve. This is Bragg curve. Ions per centimeter on y-axis, range on x-axis, and here you can see this portion, extrapolated portion, that is straggling. Now, what is straggling? The Bragg curve indicates that the ionization is fairly constant over the initial part, rises to the hump towards the end when the speed of the alpha particle falls below the ionization potential of the gas, and the curve steeply falls down, but at the x-axis, it is not met abruptly. Near the end of the path, it tails off. This is straggling. Why does the straggling occur? There is a statistical fluctuation in the number of collisions suffered by the different particles about a mean value in traveling over a given distance. So when we are considering that straggling, there is a change in range. So we are considering that range depends upon initial energy, but not necessarily that it depends upon initial energy only. There is the thing which we are not considering is collision probability of a gas medium and alpha particle. So depending upon collision probability also, there may be a fluctuation in range. And second thing is how much energy is lost during the collision. So that also determines the change in range. That is how we are getting that straggling portion. Like next is stopping power. The energy of alpha particle progressively decreases as they pass through the increasing thickness of matter, and the amount of energy loss of an alpha particle per unit length in an absorber is called as the stopping power of the absorber. What is equivalent stopping power? The air equivalent of an absorber is the thickness Ta of standard air that produces the same energy loss of alpha particle as does a given thickness T of the absorber placed in the path. So ratio of T by Ta. T, it is the thickness of the absorber material. Ta is the thickness of the air. So that is called as equivalent stopping power. The equivalent stopping power is the thickness of the absorber that produces the same energy loss in the alpha particle as does the unit thickness of the standard air. And then we have one more term, that is relative stopping power. It is defined as 1 by Te. It is thus the ratio of energy loss in traversing unit distance in the absorber to that in the traversing unit distance in the standard air. So just reciprocal of equivalent stopping power. Thank you. Thank you so much.